Hey, listeners. My name is Elisha, the founder of the Witnesses podcast. It's so beautiful to have you listening to our podcast. And I want you to know something that means a whole lot to me. Thank you for tuning in. And one thing I love to tell all of our listeners is it's not just about you listening, but listening to understand. Understanding is the most important thing. So important. So, you have to listen, learn, and practice. Thank you so very much and happy listening.
Hi, Shaunna. It's nice to have you on the show. How are you doing today?
I am doing quite well. Thank you for having me.
That's so good. Okay, oftentimes I love to talk about the essence of this show, which is to invite amazing guests like Shaunna to come talk to us about their triumphant stories, because we believe that in our audience,
No worries.
so by that person listening to you speak, they might actually pick an information that will lead to their transformation. So, within the next few minutes, Shaunna, let us get started with your story, the challenges that you faced, and how you overcame them. Then, afterwards, I've got some questions for you. Over to you, Shaunna.
Okay. Fabulous. Well, thank you again for having me on your show. I fully believe in what you've already stated, which is sharing our stories gives us healing power, but also can be such an inspiring thing for
Yeah.
other people to hear and experience. So I appreciate the opportunity to do that. I Where shall I begin? I actually spent about 20 years in corporate America. So I was building my career and climbing the ladder, so to speak, and chasing titles and money and realizing along the way that I was not as available to my children as I wanted to be. I had suffered some personal losses in my life and really was successful financially, but not fulfilled in my heart. And so, um, along the line, I managed to get married and divorced 3 times. And I found myself after my third divorce really doing some soul searching and trying to determine, where do I go next? Is this career that I'm building really what I want to spend my time doing? How can I be of the best service to my children? And I ended up writing a book. I actually wrote a novel. It took me about 18 months to write a novel. Then I promptly got scared and put it on a shelf and did nothing with it. And then shortly after that, I actually wrote my first self help book, which is called So You're Divorced, So What? It became a bestseller, and I am very proud of this little baby of mine that I birthed into the world. It is what I often say is the prettiest divorce book you will ever read. It is really not a how to get divorced book, but really a guide on how to live your best life, even though you might be divorced. And so it's really a book of empowerment and inspiration and permission for the reader to live a great life. And so I'm really proud of the book. From there, it kind of steamrolled me into building this entire business, which is meant to help people thrive after loss. So navigating life after loss is a challenge, but really empowering women specifically is who I work with, but empowering them to make big choices and dream big and go after the things that have been calling to them, like writing a book or starting a podcast. I actually am the host of 2 podcasts. And it kind of, writing the book springboarded me into hosting this show, which is called Start Again with Shaunna Lee. And it is all about highlighting people's stories who did things later in life when they thought, maybe I'm too old to do this thing. Maybe it's too late for me to start something new. And I get to highlight those stories, which is really fun. So that's kind of a little intro to who I am.
Amazing. Okay, let us dive into the very first question.
Well, that is one of the things that I work with my clients on, which is learning how to monetize their gifts. So, creating a second source of income, the most, I think my best advice is to follow that thing that brings you joy and to follow your bliss And typically that seems to be a creative outlet of some sort. So whether that is expressing yourself with the written word and creating a blog that you share with the world, there's lots of ways to get paid for sharing your words online. You can write a book like I did. There are lots of creative endeavors in terms of creating an Etsy store or print on demand services. There's lots of ways that we can create things because we enjoy them, and then we can share them with the world. And that is a great way to create a second source of income. What I find is when you're doing something you enjoy, it doesn't feel like work. So it's a really easy way to kind of tiptoe into monetizing what you're good at and just adding some incremental revenue in the most fun way possible.
Mm, mm. Okay, thank you for that. Let's say someone asks you, hey, Shauna, how can I turn my gift into money? I just wanted to.
Yeah, so I think it depends on, first of all, what is your gift? What are you good at? So, for example, I'm really great at talking to people and building a connection and having one-on-one conversations. So, being a podcast host is a great way for me to do what I'm good at, but then also make some money because there's lots of ways to monetize a podcast. If, let's say, your gift is creating beautiful paintings, well, that's an easy way to monetize that, is to make them available for people to purchase. And there's lots of ways. I think, the internet opens up a lot of different options for us, makes us more accessible to a lot of different people. We're no longer limited to just those people in our community specifically. So getting yourself out online is usually a good way to do that.
Sorry about that. Okay, beautiful. The third question. Um, what is the biggest mistake that people make when writing a book? You got it?
Hmm.
The
I do.
biggest
Let me think
mistake
about
that
that.
people make.
The,
Okay.
the biggest mistake. I will say the biggest mistake I see people make is not writing the book they are meant to write. I think that I see over and over and over again. So I think a lot of people will say, who am I to write a book? I've got this idea, but nobody will read it. How the heck am I going to put all the words on paper? I don't know how to edit. I don't know what to do after I write the book. Like, writing the book is the biggest challenge. But then what? What do I do after I write the book? So I think not writing the story that is in you is the biggest mistake.
Okay. So, the last question, Shauna, it says, can journaling really help someone heal after divorce? I want you to talk more on that. You got it? Journaling. Can it help
Yes.
someone heal after divorce?
Yeah, absolutely. So, one of the chapters in my book is specifically on the steps you can take to heal after divorce. There is a lot of introspection that I think people skip. So, after divorce, people end up sad and lonely, and a lot of people jump right back into dating. Or they decide I'm not cut out for it. They seclude themselves, hide away, and in both cases, a lot of people aren't properly healing before they open themselves up to be in a new relationship. So I feel like introspection on your past relationship is really important. I think identifying what is important to you. So we hear a lot about self-care and fill your cup, but if you don't actually know what's important to you and how to make yourself happy, you'll be looking at outside people to do that for you. So I feel like that is a really, really big component of healing, is knowing how to go within and feed your soul and do what makes you feel whole and complete and loved and cared for. So I think that's probably, self-care is the first thing I would go to. But doing a good, healthy amount of introspection, whether that's with a therapist or with your journal and a pen, whatever way that you can kind of look back on how you contributed to the relationship, good, bad, indifferent, is really important because that's where we learn, right? So we make quote unquote mistakes. I don't really think they're mistakes, but through our life experiences, we have the opportunity to learn lessons. And I think that's where the introspection is really helpful and quite healing.
Right, Shaunna. In conclusion, what advice would you like to give to the audience? And let's say there is someone who would like to get your book or listen to your podcast. How can that be possible?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, what would be my one piece of advice? I would say the ability to connect with yourself and the divine, regardless of how you refer to the divine, God, angels, universe. I think your connection to the spirit we all have within us, that we all come from, um, being able to do that is so important before you even begin to connect with other people. So one of my favorite ways to do that is through meditation. And I have a free meditation that I've created, and it's a great way for people to find me and my book and get in touch with me, is to go to shaunalee.com/free meditation. And you can download the meditation that I created. It's really helpful for people who say, I don't know how to meditate, or I can't turn off my thoughts. I have a hard time just sitting there. This meditation will literally guide you through being able to center for less than 10 minutes and get your very first little connection to the you that's inside. And then my book, So You're Divorced, So What, is on Amazon, so you can find it there. But there's also links to all of the things I do on my website, which is shaunalee.com.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Shaunna. You've
No
really
problem.
blessed me. And I know that when the audience are going to be listening, they're also going to be blessed. Thank you so very
Oh,
much,
thank
Shaunna.
you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Thank you for tuning in to this incredible episode. Your support means the world to us, and we truly value you. We look forward to having you join us for the next episode. If you enjoyed what you heard, please consider rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts. Your feedback is greatly appreciated.